Hey, this is Uriah Kennedy from the God and Country podcast. We took last week off to be able to get ourselves situated into our new studio. As you can see here, we've improved dramatically what you're seeing, and hopefully that works well for you as the audience and you like what you see. We're really trying to make ourselves bigger and better. We need you as the audience to help us out, because as a political channel, we don't get near the impressions like any other channel would. I mean, if we were talking about hunting or fishing or toys or video games or something like that, we'd be getting a lot of impressions. But because this is politics, YouTube barely gives us maybe 200 or 300 impressions. So even though we're well over 18,000 subscribers, you as the subscribers are just simply not even seeing this show up on your normal feeds on a day-to-day basis. So if you're not openly going out there and getting our channel, finding our channel, you're not going to see the videos. So that's what we need you to do as the subscribers, to be listeners, not just subscribers. Actually actively get onto our channel and watch our videos. The podcasts are usually 2 to 3 hours long. You can watch 20 to 30 minutes a day, maybe going to and from work. You can watch it on your cell phone or however you listen to your podcast on YouTube or something. But we are trying to get past the impression suppression by YouTube. Because again, 200 or 300 is just not going to get us out there, and that's what YouTube's giving us. So please listen to our full podcast. Click that subscribe button, click the bell so you get notified when our podcasts come out. Because if you don't get notified, YouTube is not going to put the impression out there for you to get it onto your feed. They're just not doing it. And then most importantly, share us. We have a lot of information in these podcasts that is great information everybody needs to know. We just had Jordan Harmon on from Angel Studios. Last week we had Senator Dan McKay on. We've had other congressmen and senators on previously. Burgess Owens came on a few weeks ago. We even had a scout sniper from Ukraine on. We've had great podcasts on Israel, on Hamas, and on Sharia Law, which is what we're going to cover a little bit about today. But we are completely reliant on you, the listeners, to get us out there, because YouTube is definitely not helping us in any way, shape, or form. We hope you like the new surroundings this week on our upcoming podcast we're going to have out on Sunday. We're going to have some young Republicans from the University of Utah on, and they're going to let us know what's happening on campus, what's happening off campus, what's happening with their TPUSA chapter, and what they feel like as the young generation growing up in the Republican Party and what they're seeing as far as the left is concerned and what they're doing to them. Today we got a great topic of discussion. Today we're going to be discussing a lot about Sharia law and socialism, the two great evils that are partnering up and are going to be the absolute destruction of the planet, freedom, of the United States Constitution, and everything that we hold dear. And for some reason, the left, those that are out there, are promoting this, pushing it, amplifying it, and saying that's the best thing that ever happened to America. Not understanding that socialism has never worked, no matter where it's been tried to be implemented around the world. It creates poverty, it creates oppression, and it makes it so the state is more important than anything else. It gets rid of religion, it gets rid of beliefs, it gets rid of everything. And people want solutions to housing problems, they want solutions to paychecks, they want solutions to why everything's so expensive. And they point to capitalism. Capitalism is the problem. Not understanding that capitalism is the solution. What the problem is all these leftist ideologies keep trying to mix socialism in with capitalism and bend us more and more towards that. So instead of recognizing the problem where it should be, they think the good side is actually the problem. And evil becomes good and good becomes evil. And Sadly, the education system is not fixing that. There's no insight within our universities, within our schools, teaching children or kids what socialism or communism really does, how evil that is, and how detrimental it's going to be to society. We recently saw Zoran Mamdani get elected as mayor in New York, and we're going to discuss how bad that's going to be. So there's going to be a lot of information today. So again, like, subscribe, share it, but most importantly, listen to the full podcast so you can see all this great information. Again, even if it takes you a couple of sessions, listen to 20 minutes today, 20 minutes tomorrow, or 30 minutes today on your cell phone or wherever you're playing that, and get through the information, because you're going to appreciate it. I guarantee it. You're going to appreciate the information we're going to deliver here today. A couple weeks ago, we had Caroline Fippen on the podcast, and she was a candidate for senator for the state of Utah. She was running against Trent Staggs. Staggs obviously won that, and then it went to the general election. And then Trent Staggs lost to John Curtis. But Caroline Fippen was one of those people running in that election. And one of the things we mentioned in that podcast was the rape statistics in Europe. And that's just kind of where we want to start today. People are saying, well, that cannot be possibly true. I mean, where are you getting these numbers from? And we're actually getting it from European sources, from Radio Europe and other sources that know exactly what's going on over there. So to start this conversation, we're going to go through a few of these numbers. So numbers in England, Wales, combination of England and Wales, then Germany, France, and Poland. So comparing the 2000 numbers to the year 2000 to 2023 and what's happened there. So as most people understand, Europe has had a massive influx of illegal immigration. Just like our southern border has been open for the last 4 years underneath the Biden administration, and the devastation that's caused, because they have not had the chance to come in and learn and assimilate into the American society. They just come across illegally. They don't appreciate our Constitution. They don't appreciate our veterans and those who have fought many, many wars to keep us free and have the freedoms that we have. They don't go through that appreciation or learning process as you would in legal immigration. We pointed that out in many podcasts before. Illegal immigrants kind of bring what they know, and all they know is what they've had in their countries, and they ignorantly try to implement that, and it just destroys our fabric. They bring the crime with it. They bring their morals that are not necessarily U.S. morals with it, and it creates a lot of problems here in the United States. And we just do not have the ability to assimilate 20 million people in 4 years. It's just not feasible. It's not possible, which is why we have to stop the illegal immigration and bring them across legally. England, Europe has had these same issues, but it's mostly Middle Easterners are getting into those nations and just destroying it. We have a lot of Latin Americans here. We are getting a lot of Middle Easterners, a lot of people from China, a lot of people from these other countries coming into the United States. They all fly over, travel over to Mexico, and come across the border. So we're getting a lot of that, but not nearly as bad as what Europe is receiving. So you're getting a lot of Somalis. You're getting a lot of people from Iraq, Afghanistan, all these other Muslim countries traveling up through Turkey and into all these European nations and just destroying them. So we're looking at the comparison of what that mindset, what their ideologies are within their home countries are, and not assimilating into European culture. Because when you're coming from a lot of those Muslim countries where they practice Sharia law, they just don't have the same ideals, the same moral background. And we're going to show in this video that Sharia law is the problem. Now, throughout the world, you have the Sharia extremists, you have the Sharia moderates, and then you have those that just practice the Muslim religion. In the entire world, polls have shown that about 30% of the Muslim population is for Sharia law. Fully implementing it, that means women are on burqas, women have no rights, they're treated equally as dogs and horses, and most people don't understand that that's how bad it is. Literally no rights. You have the right to beat them, kill them, get rid of them. I mean, you can do anything you want. They just have no rights. It's not just the burqa. Theft can get solved by cutting off people's hands. You can get stoned. You can get whipped. Get thrown off a building if you're LGBTQ. I mean, that's Muslim extremism. That's Sharia law. You have 50% of the Muslim population worldwide Muslim population that is moderate. But when asked, they're asked, okay, if you were called upon to defend the Constitution of the United States or the government in the country in which you reside, or defend Sharia law, which way would you go? And they all of them said Sharia law. I mean, it was pretty extreme. 50% of the Muslim population said, well, Sharia law is more important. It comes from God. That supersedes the Constitution of the United States. That supersedes any government. So if we had to choose, if we were forced to choose between the two, we would choose Sharia law. So even though they're not fully practicing Sharia law, and they're kind of moderate because they've been westernized a little bit, if called to it, they would practice Sharia law and fall on the Sharia law side and defend Sharia law, which essentially makes them extremists too, because they wouldn't help the rest of the world stay free. And then you have that last 15-20% that have been very, very westernized, don't care about Sharia law, practicing Muslim, maybe they go to mosque every once in a while. They've been very, very westernized, and they're like, yeah, we don't think Sharia law is fair. We should probably steer away from that extremist ideology. But it's a very, very, very small fraction of the entire Muslim population. And many people just don't see that for what it is, and they're trying to be tolerant. They're trying to help people practice that religious freedom, but just don't understand how extreme Sharia law really is. Because what it states is you have to convert, pay a tax, or you die. I mean, that's what it states. And that's the fear that we have, and it's much more than burqas or allowing kids to get married at 9, 10 years old, allowing them to have children and be forced into childbearing and forced to have sex with older men. The second the woman has her first period, which could be as young as 11 or 12 years old, that is just straight up evil, but that is what Sharia law is. And what we're saying is it's more than that. It's more than the burqas. It's more than the abuses to kids. It's the fact that the entire Sharia law is forced upon you, and you do not have a say about it. It's you convert, you pay a tax, or you die. And with 30% of the entire world population vehemently saying that this is how it should be, 50% of the total Muslim population leaning in that direction, but being more modern in their practices until they're called to the floor on it, then they definitely be for Sharia law. And only 20% of them saying, no, we don't want anything to do with it. That paints a very, very gloomy picture of where we're sitting at. So when we look at these numbers, and look at the massive influx of illegal immigration from the Middle East into the European nations, you're understanding what is going on there. Because with women not having any rights at all, and they're same as dogs and horses, when the men has the urge to have sex with somebody, they take it. It's just, they go out and rape somebody, and it's not considered rape. It's considered their right as a man, because a woman, you're essentially not even human. You don't have any rights. So they really do not see a problem with that. I have the right to do that. I'm just going to go and take it. And that's where you get 9, 10-year-olds getting stolen from backyards and getting raped and killed and just kind of left in the bushes somewhere. And then that's where you get these numbers. So again, going to England and Wales, back in the year 2000, they had 8,593 rape victims back in the year 2000. Fast forward to 2023, 68,109. So in a 23-year span where all this illegal immigration from the Middle East has happened, they've gone up 60,000 rapes in a year. 60,000. That's insane numbers. And it's not the native-borns that are doing that. It's not the increase in crime rates. It's a completely different ideology moving in the masses, in the absolute masses. That's England. So you take it to Germany. Back in 2000, they had 8,133 rape victims. 2023, 39,029. So again, going up from 8,000 or 8,200 to 39,000. So a 31,000 rape victim increase from 2000 to 2023. You look at France, 7,500 annually back in 2000. France in 2023, 42,400 annually. It's just massive numbers. How do you go up by that much when you've gone up by literally 35,000 annual rape victims in 23 years? You look at the one country, Poland, where the president did not allow any illegal immigration, essentially just shut down their border. And they were called out on the floor with it. The president of Poland had some press representatives ask him, why haven't you accepted any immigration at all? None. Well, I mean, you should be offended by that. You should be appalled by that. Why aren't you helping? He flat out said, it's Poland first. Just like Donald Trump, it's Poland first. I am supporting my people first. They are my priority. Well, no, we don't have to appease the world. And he's like, I don't know why you're shocked by that. We're not taking any of them in. We're keeping the crime out. We're keeping the problems out. We're keeping their ideology out because they're not assimilating anywhere else in Europe. Why would I take them in? And he was shocked by her question, and she was absolutely shocked that he wasn't taking anybody else in. She was like, why not? So you look at their numbers. Back in 2000, they had 2,400 rapes victims in year 2000. Speed forward to 2023, 1,127. So essentially about just over 1,100. So they went from 2,400 down to just over 1,100 in the 23 years. So instead of going up by 60, 40, 35,000 annual rape victims like England, Germany, and France, Poland actually went down by over 1,300. How is that possible? And it's the ideology that moves in that they just do not have the same morals and values. It just doesn't exist, and people want to give that a pass. They don't care. They want to promote it. And now what you're having in England is you're having entire areas that are what they're calling no-go zones. That means it's complete Sharia laws practiced in there. It's completely under Sharia control, under Muslim control. The local police officers don't go in. Most of the local population don't go in. You're asking for trouble if you're going into those neighborhoods. And for some reason, the local government is saying, yeah, that's fine, that's okay. They're figuring it out over there. And they're giving it a complete pass, doing nothing about it. Particularly when the mayor of London is now Muslim. A lot of the city council members are now Muslim, and you see why that is being allowed, because they're literally taking over. And those on the left are promoting it, pushing it, and giving it a complete pass, saying, no, this is fine, this is okay. Whereas if it was Christianity moving in like that, they'd be abhorred suing everybody and doing everything they could to stop it. But because it's Muslim, everybody just turns a blind eye to it and gives it a complete pass. Yet you have these type of rape numbers. It's so bad that when we were interviewing Caroline Phippen a couple weeks ago, she has a friend that lives in England. And this friend has told us specifically that as a woman, she cannot go out in public anywhere in England by herself. She says this is women don't do it anymore. It's day or night. You will get raped. It's not an if, it's not a maybe. It's just you will get raped if you go out by yourself. It is that bad over there in England. That's a foregone conclusion that women do not go out by themselves. And you think I'm exaggerating, you think C's exaggerating, you think these numbers are exaggerated, you got another thing coming, because they have recently come out with a brand new invention that is supposedly there to help women. So instead of actually controlling the crime rate, controlling the illegal immigration, they're resorting to this new invention that I'm going to show here in a second. Not only that, but this new invention is flying off the shelves, selling in the millions everywhere in Germany, everywhere in England, everywhere across Europe. It is just going in the masses. And what is it? You're going to be shocked to see what it really is. You may laugh at it, but this is serious. This is what's happening.
So this ad is for something called anti-rape underwear, and it's being sold all over the European Union now. This is an ad from Spain talking about it, because the rape has gotten so bad that you now need to wear underwear that you can't cut and you can't take off, just so that you don't get raped. This is the new thing. This is the new invention. We thought by 2025, you used to have cartoons where you were going to have flying cars and you were going to have all these beautiful futuristic things. Instead, we're literally just trying to make sure Africans don't rape the women walking around Europe by making them wear underwear that you can basically cut a knife through at any time. This is insane. This is sick. Of course, they're selling like hotcakes in Germany because everybody's getting raped every 10 seconds in Germany. This is the new reality. This is the new life that they've made for us. And I'll tell you, we really could just fix all of this. You deport the migrants, you don't have to wear these rape-proof underwear.
So they're making anti-rape underwear for the women. No joke. As you see, that was in Spanish, so it's an ad in Spain right now. Like you said, selling everywhere in Germany, England, going off the shelves. They can't even keep it in stock. Because, like I said, women are getting raped every 10 seconds. I mean, that is the statistics. When you're having an annual rape rate in the 39,000 to 68,000 annual range, you're getting raped. And that's why the friend of Caroline Phippen said that you just don't go out in public if you're a woman by yourself, because you will get raped. Now they're buying underwear that you can't cut, can't rip, can't tear, making it so you can't cut it off with a knife hardly. So the women have some kind of a fighting chance against getting raped. I mean, that is crazy to me that they're having to go to that extent. That literally, that is the expectation. So instead of the government fixing the problem and recognizing that a whole new ideology has moved in that is not compatible with our nation, with our values, and stopping it, they're saying, you're just going to have to deal with it. Not only are you going to have to deal with it, but they're actually voting in, putting in office the very people that are helping this out and promoting it. That's mind-boggling to me. That is absolutely shocking to me. And if you think that that's not going to progressively happen here in the United States, you're even more insane. Because if you look at what's happening throughout these cities in Minnesota, Dearborn, Michigan, now in New York, there's Epic City down in Texas that we're going to discuss, where they're trying to fully implement Sharia law and create no-go zones, which is they're trying to do it slowly and incrementally. It's shocking that people are still not recognizing where the problem resides. So again, in England, Sharia law is being implemented. There's actual no-go zones that people can't even go into. And people are like, well, they can't be that bad. This is an actual news report from London showing exactly what's happening.
Hardline Muslims trying to enforce Sharia law in London, from abstention to amputation. RT's Laura Emmett's been hearing how they want to instill their tough code on the capital.
So we are here to tell you that Islam and the Sharia is unstoppable in Europe.
Stoning for adultery, cutting off hands for stealing, death for renouncing Islam. This group of men is trying to enforce Sharia law in the UK. They've started a campaign to make certain areas of London and other cities Islamic law-controlled zones, starting with Walthamstow, East London.
Muslims will be commanding good and forbidding evil, presenting Islam as an alternative to the Muslim and the non-Muslim community. Ultimately, we believe that Muslims can live together, trade according to the Sharia, resolve their problems according to the Sharia, and even police themselves to a large extent. Hopefully one day to have Islamic Emirates, which will have authority locally, security locally, and even provide welfare locally.
Chowdhury and his friends are fly-posting parts of London with large Muslim populations. They want to ban drinking, gambling and playing music. And they say they've got bands of young men ready to patrol and enforce Sharia law by any means.
Now, that enforcement will not initially be on the level of inviting and forbidding verbally. But if someone has the capability to forbid what in essentially is something evil, like pornography or prostitution, he should do so.
By that you mean physically?
Of course, I believe that there are prostitutes that are near the mosque. They should be run out of the area.
These Muslims say British society is broken, riddled with drugs, crime and prostitution. Because of that, they firmly believe members of the communities they're targeting will welcome Sharia law. But the word on the street about the campaign tells a different story.
It comes down to, if you don't like the laws of the place you live, find somewhere where you do appreciate the laws, and all of these things are completely legal in this country.
This is not India or Pakistan, this is England. We've got our own laws. People haven't got a right to come in here and bring their laws in here.
Well, I think that have caused nothing but trouble.
Councillor Martin Esom agrees, saying this could destroy community cohesion.
We've got squads going around the borough taking down the posters as soon as they put up, because we do not want these posters around our borough. They do not represent the views of our borough, and they have no place in Waltham Forest.
Citizen equality campaigners say the Sharia supporters shouldn't be considered a religious movement, but a far-right political organisation with a poster campaign designed to divide and conquer communities.
The danger lies in dividing people, dividing communities, creating mistrust, and particularly from non-Muslims towards moderate Muslims. I think this is part of their aim, is to create mistrust, so they can then turn to moderate Muslims and say, look, everyone hates you, we're your friend, turn to us. And it's a very, very dangerous thing, and it's a political tactic to increase their own power.
Undeterred by opposition, Chowdhury and his group plan what they see as the beginning of an Islamic emirate, not just in the UK, but all over Europe. Police have mobilised to take these posters down as fast as they appear, but Chowdhury and his group say they've formed bands of vigilante enforcers to make sure Sharia is adhered to, verbally or physically. And in other parts of London, women have already been harassed for not covering their heads. If these Muslims ever get their way, I won't be able to dress like this on the streets of Walthamstow or many other parts of London, Brussels, Rome and Paris. Laura Emmett, RT, Walthamstow, London.
As you can see, that there's entire areas where there are complete no-go zones. I mean, this imam there is fully out there saying that we are going to implement full Sharia law, where we're going to police ourselves and everything's going to be practiced according to the Sharia. We don't need anybody outside government. This is going to be implemented throughout Europe, not just in parts of London. This is the takeover, because that is what Sharia law demands. It's the jihad. It's you will subvert, you will convert, pay a tax, or you're going to die. And this is normal. Why would it not be normal? You can see how naturally he spoke about it. That's the expectation. You should be happy about it, because somebody who's better and far superior than you is now taking over. We're going to be your saviors. In fact, that he's putting together younger people, and he's got these bands specifically put together that are going out there and already enforcing it. They don't care what the government is doing. They're going to keep putting up their posters as much as they try taking it down, because their law is above the government. It's above any other law. It's above anything. Why? Because it comes from their God. And they have no regard to the laws of the land, to other people, because they're more important, their law is more important. So they're going to have these young groups out there enforcing gambling laws and prostitution laws and drug laws and all these others, and even molesting people, women that don't have their heads covered, and they're going to slowly make this normal and try to implement Sharia law wherever they can. And it's going to spread, like she's saying, throughout London, through Paris, through Greece. I mean, it doesn't matter where it is. They're going to purposely try to make that spread everywhere. And you're seeing that throughout Germany. You're seeing it profusely around England. And then the very elected officials are, again, giving this a complete pass and saying, no, that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly normal. And then you have others saying, well, that's just over in Europe. That's not going to happen here in the United States, which is, again, a lie. Look what is happening in Dearborn, Michigan, where they now have a Muslim call to prayer 5 times a day, and they're implementing this. Here in the United States, we have the Second Amendment, which is not only against freedom of press, freedom of speech and all that, but freedom of religion. And it's freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. It's not where you take Christianity out of government and out of states, out of no prayer schools, no Bible schools. It's specifically no state-sponsored religion. That is what the law states. No state-sponsored. That means the state, the government, cannot promote one religion over another. It can allow prayer, it can allow this stuff, but it cannot promote one religion over the other. So as much as everybody's out there in arms and fighting anything and everything that has to do with Christianity or Judaism, and if you try to offer a prayer, even have a moment of silence, you try to put a Bible anywhere, it's going to be lawsuits everywhere. Everybody's up in an uproar to try to stop every last ounce of it. There can be no religion anywhere. It's freedom from religion. It's complete separation of church and state if it's Christianity. But if it's Muslim, then the state actually chooses that religion and promotes it, amplifies it, and does everything in its power to make it better, bigger, and more accepted. That is completely against the Constitution, because that is a state-sponsored religion. You don't believe me? There are actual prayer rooms being installed in the schools throughout Michigan, Minnesota, and these other countries, or these other states, where Muslim kids can go into a prayer room and pray the 5 times a day, whatever it is. An actual state-sponsored, paid-for prayer rooms inside of schools. Now, if that was a Christian prayer room, you wouldn't hear the end of it on the news, in the media, in our courts trying to sue it out of existence. But yet when it's Muslim, no one says a word. It's all hush-hush. It's quiet. Everything's accepted, built, and ready to go on taxpayer dollars. Prayer rooms in our schools. And you don't think that what is happening in England is not going to happen here in the United States? When that type of thing is happening? 68,000 rapes a year in England. They're buying underwear, anti-rape underwear, because they refuse to face the problem in Europe right now. And it's selling like hotcakes. People are openly recognizing that women cannot go in public anywhere. Because even though they're against prostitution and want to get rid of prostitution, at the same time they want to get rid of prostitution, women do not have any rights and are treated the same thing as animals. And rape is not against their values. It's not illegal. It's not prostitution. I mean, the men have the rights. They can go do whatever they want to do. So you can see how backwards the moral values are of the vast majority of this population that is moving in. And again, people are saying, well, that's just the extremists. Well, the extremists want to push Sharia law. They want to impose it upon you and practice jihad, But even the moderates recognize this part of Sharia law and saying, hey, burqas are fine. Women do not have any rights. We can dictate what they can and cannot do. We can marry young kids that are 8, 9, 10 years old. We can have babies with 11 and 12-year-olds. Even the moderates believe in that. They believe that women do not have rights. The moderates believe that part of the law. That is the issue. You have a group that wants to push jihad and force everybody to be Muslim, but you have 80% of the Muslims around the world that believe in the rest of Sharia law, which involves all of that. It involves a burqa. It involves young kids getting married and having babies. It involves these extreme disciplinary actions of cutting people's hands off if they steal, throwing people off of buildings, if you're gay or lesbian, getting striped and beaten and whipped in the streets if you desecrate their Sabbath or eat early on a fast day. It's all that extremism, and that's what they're trying to push. And I see these videos all over the internet where they're trying to make and create a pretty picture around Sharia law, saying, hey, we're going to get rid of all your crime. We're going to get rid of the drugs. We're going to get rid of the prostitution. We're going to get rid of the gambling. We're going to get rid of the alcohol. We're going to get rid of all these problems. Why don't you guys want to accept this? And they try to promote all the good side of it without saying, well, how are you going to enforce that? And it's absolute violence. There's no freedom. There's no rights at all for those that are committing those crimes under Sharia law. I mean, it's death, it's whippings, it's dismemberment. And again, women have zero rights. The men have every right to just beat them. And then people come to me and say, well, what do you mean death or pay a tax? They don't believe that is actually what Sharia law is. And I can firmly confirm that that's what it is. So you'll hear in this next 2 videos about jizya. Jizya is the tax. You have to either convert or pay this tax. So let's watch this video.
So again, jizya, we start saying like this, like that. There's no need. And just to clarify as well, yes, jizya is taken from the non-Muslims. We take the jizya from the non-Muslims, the combatants, the enemies of Allah and His Rasul, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in exchange. And when we say like tax, it's not like a council tax or road tax that you're paying. You understand? And I'll get to that point as well. Is we're taking in exchange for your blood, for your life. Do you understand? We're taking it in exchange for your blood, for your life. This is mentioned by the commentators of the Quran as well. The Mufassirin, they've explained, the Fuqaha have gone into detail. And why are we taking this? Is because you are a rebellion. You are rebellious against Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And because we have mercy, Islam has mercy.
So because they are merciful, they're not going to kill you. So you just have to pay the jizya, the tax. That's in exchange for your blood. So you either convert, you pay the tax, the jizya, or you die. Those are your options. And he's like, well, what's the problem with that? Because we're being merciful. We're being merciful. I mean, we at least allow you to pay the tax and not die. I mean, isn't that not merciful? It's insane that people do not understand what this is. And again, 30% of the population, the Muslim population in the entire world, believe in this type of jihad, and 50% of the population that everybody calls moderates lean this direction, if not openly enforcing it, when it comes time to choose the U.S. Constitution and other foreign government, between those governments, or between the Constitution and jihad, between Sharia law, they will choose Sharia law. They will choose jihad. So it's not very moderate. It's leaning extremist. That's the problem.
When Muslims go and conquer the adjacent country, what do? We kill them all? No. The Prophet says, the first thing you do is call them to Islam. If they accept it, leave them. Khalas, they're Muslims. We go. If they refuse, then tell them to pay taxation, jizya. If they refuse, then we have to fight. And if we fight you, then we capture you, you become our slaves, and we take your land, and you take where, because you refuse, I give you two good options.
They gave us two good options. I mean, they're being merciful, right? Again, give you two good options. You can convert or you can pay a tax. If not, it's, right? We fight. You die. That's what it is. That's what Sharia law is. That's what jihad is. And again, 20% of the, or 30% of the Muslim population wants that. 50% of the population is leaning to that and would choose that if forced with a choice or forced with a decision. And barely 20% of the Muslim population don't believe in that because they've been so westernized. They're being merciful. What's your problem? Why won't you disagree with this and accept it? And that's happening all over Europe. And again, there's entire no-go zones in London where they simply can't go. And you have these people openly trying to enforce it by putting together their own police action, essentially, and going out there and harassing women that are not covering themselves up and trying to harass those that are selling alcohol or anything else. And we're seeing those same actions here within the United States. If you go throughout Michigan, you'll find, and Minnesota and parts of Texas, you'll find these groups openly trying to do the same thing and trying to go to different organizations, different businesses that are Muslim-owned businesses or in Muslim neighborhoods and saying, you need to stop selling alcohol by the end of the week. Now, I personally don't drink alcohol, but they have no right to do that. There are synagogues within Pennsylvania that are teaching their kids, and we've shown videos of this in previous podcasts, teaching their kids how to behead the infidel, the Satan, which is the rest of us, and just openly teaching that that's what they need to do within our own borders. Within our own borders. There is a community down in Texas, and we've been talking about this for a while, that they've called it Epic City, and they're trying to create a city that is completely Sharia law, based off of Sharia law, and fully implements it. Nobody, but if you're not Muslim, you can't move into this community, which is against every law that we have. And Governor Greg Abbott just implemented a law, signed it into law in McKinney, Texas, just within the last 2 days, saying, no, there's going to be no Sharia law in Texas, that we are going to fight this. There's not going to be any of this. So these news reporters went out and reported on what Greg Abbott was doing, but then also got some responses back from some local imams, some local leaders there, and we're going to show this.
Governor Abbott traveled to McKinney to sign a new law limiting property developments from excluding residents based on religion. Maria Guerrero has details on the governor's visit and the reaction from the Muslim community.
The ban on Sharia law in Texas is now strengthened.
The ceremonial signing met with cheers in McKinney. Governor Abbott, flanked by lawmakers who pushed through HB 4211 in response, they say, to Epic City, a Muslim-centric community planned on the edge of Collin County, accused of housing discrimination.
This law prevents them from creating no-go zones. It prevents them from selling or renting land only to people who follow Islam.
Collin County State Rep Candy Noble co-authored the bill, citing Epic City's own words.
They said, we will limit sales to only persons we believe will contribute to the overall makeup of our community.
All lies, argues Epic City's attorney, Dan Cogdell.
I mean, simply put, Governor Abbott couldn't find the truth with respect to Epic with a CNI dog, a search warrant, and a cite.
It requires disputes to be resolved by Texas law and Texas courts, not Sharia law.
There's no Sharia compounds, as he would call it. He doesn't even know what Sharia is.
The DFW Council on American Islamic Relations also calling out the rhetoric as hurtful and dangerous.
Sharia law would generally be defined as requiring people to comply with either the rules of Sharia, the rules of Islam, the rules of a local mosque.
What are you guys hearing that people are interpreting Sharia law to be?
The Sharia is some type of dark, mystic political system that would require everybody to wear burqas, and their sons would be terrorists, and so forth and so on. All this propaganda that goes with it.
HB 4211 in place, Epic City's attorney says the project is absolutely moving forward.
And so I would say just encourage the governor to try to pull us together and quit this foolishness.
So the imam there is saying this is foolishness. This isn't real. Your kids aren't going to be terrorists. You don't have to be wearing burqas. I mean, that's not what Sharia law is. But what we also learn about Sharia law is they are allowed to lie as long as it furthers the cause. It's in the Quran that you are allowed to fully lie however you want, whenever you want, as long as it furthers the cause. So we know for a fact that Sharia law is forcing everybody to conform. And that's what Greg Abel was saying, is that you have to conform to that law. And then the Imam was saying, well, it's not forcing conformation or conformance, but it is. And we just stated that it's you convert, you pay a tax, or you die. And they're trying to fully implement that within Epic City. And you got an attorney, a local attorney, an American, trying to defend that because he's getting paid a lot of money to do so. In fact, they're even stating that there's a lot of electricians and plumbers in there that wouldn't go in there and work and build these areas until they started offering them 3 times the amount, the going rates of an electricians and plumbers, and all of a sudden it started getting built. So they're throwing an extensive amount of money into Epic City to make sure it can get built, and pulling in all these local contractors who refused to build it at first until they started getting paid 3 times as much money as they would normally ask for. And Greg Abbott's purpose is trying to say, no, Sharia law is not going to be implemented here. This is not happening. And you got everybody, these imams and people in the Muslim community saying, well, that's not true. That's not real. It's a lie. You don't believe me? Watch this video.
179-acre land. So like you said, brother, masjid, homes, a total Muslim village. So we're still debating on the name, but it's going to be something Muslim name and a village attached to it, right? The names of the streets, Khalid ibn al-Walid, Tariq bin Ziyad, like all the great conquerors. Like people need to Google those conquerors and know like what are we made of. Yeah, like Google Tariq bin Ziyad, you know? And then we want to have different sections like Andalusia, this, that, like all our past glories, and we want to bring it back. The way what we're doing, brother, like you cannot make it exclusive, like non-Muslims not allowed, Kuffar not allowed. What we're doing, there's something called association fee. I don't know what it's called in Dubai. Like your maintenance fee that you pay yearly, to cutting the service fee, to cut the grass, to remove the snow and whatnot. So that service fee will put there 75% of the service fee you're paying goes to the masjid.
So they will automatically not want to come.
Automatically, if you are a practicing Christian, I would advise you, why help the Muslims, you know? They're Muslims do their own thing, right? So this is the way we're going to put the clause. And our attorney already put it there. So we have, brother, think about it. Like a guy comes from Bangladesh, have no idea about anything. Brother, we're putting an application now where we're selecting the names of the streets in the United States of America. We're putting the subdivision laws. Like, hey, this is the law. One of the laws being your yearly contribution, 75% of it goes to support the masjid that's going to be there.
They're laughing about it. Like, you're getting away with this? How are you getting away with this in the United States? Because they don't care anymore. They're literally developing it. And this was given out. This was a podcast, a Muslim podcast that were talking about Epic City. And this was long before they started calling it Epic City. And they're openly saying how they're going to put this together, because they didn't understand what HOA is, but they've essentially put together HOA fees and building permit fees, where 75% of those fees are now going to the local mosque. And they're using those fees to keep everybody else out, because, like you said, well, it's against U.S. law to restrict based off of religion, color, creed, anything else like that, sexual orientation, all that. But in order to keep the Christians and Jews out, they're going to openly tell them that, look, 75% of your HOA fees and your building permit fees are all going to go towards the local mosque here. You're going to support Muslims. And that's how they're purposely trying to create this. And that's the law that Greg Abba has put into place, was saying that, no, you can't do that. You can't purposely put those restrictions in there to force people out. And he's trying to curb Sharia law. But as he said there, They're naming the streets after their great conquerors, after these people that literally went out there and created genocide to expand the Muslim religion back when Muhammad was alive, and expand throughout the Middle East, Northern Africa, even try to push it into India and these other nations. These great conquerors, these great jihadists, they committed genocide. I mean, they killed millions. And you think this is not possible, but it's already happened in Dearborn. If you go to Dearborn, Michigan, the mayor is Muslim and openly promotes Sharia law. The city council is Muslim and openly promotes Sharia law. The police is now openly Muslim and promoting Sharia law. They've now changed their tags to be in Arabic. I've done a lot of business in Dearborn. I've been there many times myself. I was just there a few months ago. You go out there and all the signs are now in Arabic and not even in English. But the mayor has openly gone out and changed a lot of the street names there in Dearborn to the same conquerors that they're talking about in Epic City. And some local residents went to the city council meeting and say, no, we don't want this to happen. We want to keep the names the same. You can't change it. And the mayor pointed to the one individual standing up at the podium and said he was a local 20-year resident Christian, said, I know you're a local resident. I know you've been here for a long time, but you are no longer welcome. Literally pointed at him and said, you are no longer welcome here. Wanted to forcibly push them out. Again, it's you accept Sharia law or you die. And in this case, since I can't kill you, we're going to just push you out of our community. Because we're changing the names, and they did. Changed all the names to these genocidal conquerors, just like they're doing here in Epic City. And now they're having prayer calls over the loudspeakers 5 times a day, which again is a government-sponsored religion. Now that is for sure against the Constitution. Because even though we have the practice of and the freedom of religion, it cannot be government-sponsored. But yet everything everybody's doing in these specific cities are trying to create it government-sponsored. You look at Ilhan Omar's district, you look at Rashid Tlaib's district, you look at Ocasio-Cortez's district, they're all pushing this. You look now at what Mamdani is going to be doing in New York, and he's open in many, many videos saying that I want to implement parts of Sharia law. And even though he says he wants to implement parts of it, that is the slow path to death, because it's piece by piece, step by step, is how they're going to fully push and implement Sharia law in these communities. So this exact same thing that's happening in London right now, where they have entire no-go zones, is starting to happen here in the United States. And people are blind to it, choosing to ignore it and saying, no, that's not going to happen here in the United States. It's already fully implemented in Dearborn, Michigan, and there's already fully implemented in certain communities in Minnesota, where Ilhan Omar's from. And they now have Epic City down in Texas that's implementing it now. And as much as Abbott's trying to do, they don't care. Just like in London, they don't care. We're just going to keep on going and implementing this. We're going to have our own little militia groups going out and trying to enforce it, starting to harass the women that they're not covering up, harass the stores. They got to stop selling alcohol or gambling or anything else like that, which is the good side of it, but not in the way that they implement it. Sharia law does not belong in the United States. It does not meet our morals and values. It is evil. And again, people are constantly trying to fall back. Well, that's just the extremists. No. The extremists are the ones pushing it, but the moderates still 100% believe in it. And the polls have shown, and they've been asked worldwide, if you had to choose between the U.S. Constitution or foreign government's form of government and Sharia law, which one would you choose? And hands down, 100% of them said Sharia law. So it is an ideology that is poison. Now, you mix that with socialism, and you get the best of two extreme evils. Because that is what the left is trying to do. The left's goal is to get rid of Christianity, get rid of Judaism, get rid of anything that's good, get rid of capitalism, create a single-party state, create absolute control. So the socialists, the communists, and Sharia law empathizers are all seeing a common enemy, and that common enemy is Christianity, Judaism, and capitalism. And they're going to do everything they can to push those things out, team up with each other, even though they are enemies in and of themselves, but right now they want to push the rest of us out. Which goes to our next conversation is what's happening in New York with Mamdani. Mamdani has all these programs that he's promised that he's going to implement. He wants free health care. He wants free daycare for kids. He wants free bus systems. He wants government-sponsored housing, government-sponsored grocery stores, all this free stuff. And how is he going to find the funds to pay for it? Well, he's going to tax the businesses. He's going to tax the wealthy. Well, what people fail to understand is the more you tax businesses, the more you tax the wealthy, the more they're going to move out and get away from that. The day that Mamdani was elected and came into office, Florida reported over 100,000 offers from New Yorkers on homes in Florida. That means they're all getting out of Dodge. They're all getting out of town saying, no, we're not going to have anything to do with this. We're all moving out. And Mamdani is going to find that the vast majority of those wealthy businesses that he thinks he's going to tax, those wealthy people he thinks he's going to tax, are all going to move out. They're going to be gone, and he is not going to have the tax base. And then once he does not have the tax base, he's going to have to spread it out and find the money. And even though he's promised that the middle class, lower class will not be affected, they will be, because he's made the promises and he needs to find the money. And so it's going to be an evil cycle, because the more people can vote in for the free stuff, the more they're going to demand that, the less they're going to work. And they're going to work less. Demand is going to get higher. There's not going to be any funds, and it's going to be this evil cycle to where government's going to end up dictating everything and controlling everything, because it's the only way they can fund anything. And you're going to have another Nazi Germany, you're going to have another Russia, you're going to have another China, where another Venezuela, where everything is poor because people are working less and not generating wealth because they can vote in their free stuff. Anybody that had money has already moved out, and they don't have that tax base anymore. And the free stuff just keeps getting more and more and more and more. You don't believe me? Again, we got evidence of this. So we're going to look at Chicago right now. So Chicago's been implementing this for a long time. They've had these socialistic tendencies, a socialistic mayor. They've had a socialistic governor for a very, very long time that have already implemented all this. And if you look at downtown Chicago, it's almost a ghost town, because the vast majority of the high-rises are empty. There's no businesses in there. Most of them have all moved out. So they've lost a massive, massive tax base. And they're already starting to go and try to find the funds to implement their socialistic programs. And the communities have now had an uprising against increasing their taxes. So this news report came from Chicago just a few days ago.
Many Cook County residents are reeling today from a whopping property tax bill that came out late and much higher than expected. Chicago's south and west sides are seeing some of the biggest increases. Our political reporter Chris Ty has more on why downtown may be to blame and what some residents are doing about it.
The pain is real here in North Lawndale, where property tax bills are going up on average 98%. In West Garfield Park, it's up over 130%. And one of the main reasons why is because of what's happening or not happening over there in downtown Chicago, where in the Loop, they've collected 129 million fewer property tax dollars this year than they did last year.
My property taxes went up 75.86%. And so
Richard Townsell of North Lawndale has a friend who saw his jump 237%.
My wife and I, we had a budget meeting last week as we were looking at this. You know, does that mean maybe we don't take the vacation we thought we were going to take?
Thank you for a frustration that this weekend led to this bill burning, led by the Lawndale Christian Development Corporation, which he is executive director.
It was a Boston Tea Party kind of moment, where it's like taxation without representation. What do we do about this? Not just whine about it.
One idea is to lobby for a state law in Illinois, similar to one in California, that caps property tax hikes at no more than 2% a year. Consider Englewood residents saw an 82% jump this year, an average of $609. In North Lawndale, it was $1,900, and in Garfield Park, it was $2,000.
I think it's incumbent upon us as citizens to give our elected officials what we want. We should be pressing them around the bills that we want to see, not waiting for them to come up with a solution.
The problem, County Treasurer Maria Pappas says, is what's happening downtown.
All these high-rises, commercial buildings that you see downtown are unrented because the businesses have left the city. So somebody had to pick it up, so the residences are picking it up.
Picking it up begrudgingly.
I think government needs to learn how to live in their means, because guess what? You and I don't get a 100% increase on our pay.
Residents burning mad over the way government is spending more than they had. In North Lawndale, Chris Todd, CBS News, Chicago.
So as you can see, downtown Chicago, all those businesses moved out. Everything's vacant. All the big high-rises gone. You're going to see the exact same thing happening in New York. We've already seen a lot of that happening in California with Gavin Newsom. They've had a massive exodus of residents. Millions have left the state, and massive businesses, not just Tesla, have left the state, left massive tax holes, so California can't even meet their budget. They're heavily in debt and can't cut anything, or they don't want to cut. It's another reason why they're trying to be a sanctuary state and keep all those illegal immigrants over there, because they've had so many people leave the state. They're going to be losing a couple of House seats. That's why there's this huge fight in Texas and here in Utah and California about redistricting. Everybody's trying to keep their House seats. But the reason why they're losing it, Illinois is losing House seats, New York is losing House seats to, again, Florida, Tennessee, Utah, Texas. All these House seats losing because the mass exodus of everybody trying to escape these socialist ideologies. All these big businesses, all these wealthy people are just leaving. And you'll see more of it now in New York. It's going to be equal to that of Chicago. And yet, because they've promised all this free stuff, they have to find the funds somewhere. So they went out and found the property taxes. And these residents, 100%, 130%. One resident in that video was saying that their property taxes went up 240%. Just in the last year. It will affect the middle class and the lower class people because they will not be able to find the money. And again, just like I was saying, they will vote in more free stuff and they will work less. People become lazier and lazier, work less, demand more. Work less, demand more. And the government's going to want to provide more and try to find more money. And so the taxes are going to increase and increase until they're completely socialistic, communistic, where the government's trying to control everything. Dictating who works, what they do, how they do things, and the state becomes in complete control. That's what socialism is. And it baffles me that people don't see this. They flip the script and turn good evil and evil good and think that, well, capitalism is the problem. Conservatism is the problem. It's not the socialistic ideologies. It's not the free stuff that's the problem. It's not Sharia law is not the problem. All these other things are the problem. And so they vote in more of the problem, which makes people work less because they just get lazy because they can vote in all this free stuff. The wealthy move out. They don't have the tax base anymore, and the government ends up taking more and more and more. And then that disease spreads. I mean, you're seeing it in California. You've seen it in Chicago. You're now seeing it with Mamdani being elected in New York. You're seeing the mass exodus in New York day one as, again, Florida reported over 100,000 offers on that day from New Yorkers trying to get down to Florida. This is insane numbers. So you have these two evils coming together, Sharia law and socialism, and they are going to be the destruction of our country if we're not careful, if we do not openly and actively push against it. Sharia law cannot be implemented anywhere. That type of extreme ideology, that type of jihad, that type of convert, get taxed, or die mentality cannot be implemented anywhere here in the United States, but it already is, and it's growing. And what's happening in Europe right now will eventually start happening here in the United States, with the rape rates, the crime rates, all increasing, because the crime's going to go up with the Sharia ideology, where women just don't have any rights. And it's going to go up with the socialism as well, because people are not going to have enough to sustain themselves. The government is not going to be able to provide enough free stuff, and the people will stop working, which is going to increase the crime rates. It's all going to backfire on everybody trying to push those two evil ideologies. And for some reason, there's half of our country that simply does not want to see it, doesn't see it, wants to ignore it, turn a blind eye to it. This is real, people. Sharia law is spreading. It is evil, and it is dark, and it will destroy everything it touches. Everything it touches. It is not something to negotiate with. You can't negotiate with it. It is not something, well, we'll accept some of this and not some of this. It's that slow, slippery slope to absolute destruction. Socialism is not acceptable. It cannot be voted into office ever. And yet it is across this country. It's not just New York. And the two of them getting together and essentially signing a pact against Christianity, against Judaism, and against conservatism is the greatest fight and the greatest struggle this country will ever see. It is greater than World War I, World War II, the Civil War, or any other fight that we have ever fought. This is going to be the biggest battle ever. It is the fight between good and evil. And in the end, we all know who wins, but it is going to be one of the worst battles we've ever seen, because it is going to create crime, it is going to create poverty, it is going to create war, and it's going to create a lot of suffering amongst the people as these two ideologies clash. And the one is extremely, or the two, Sharia law and socialism, is extremely more evil than anything else we've ever seen or experienced, for that matter. And then soon, people here, women here in the United States, are going to be buying rape-proof underwear. Do we really want to get to that point? It's coming. I mean, we already have an epic city down in Texas, Dearborn, Michigan, where you have conquerors being named on streets. And as been reported this last election, I think well over 55 or 56 Muslim extremists have been voted into offices around this country, from mayors to city council people to school district boards. It is scary what is happening and how accepting that is, because they're not looking at reality. All they're looking at is, I'm against Christianity, I'm against those values, I'm against Trump. So I'm going to vote in Sharia law, I'm going to vote in socialism. We as conservatives, we as Christians, we as Jews have to stand up to this evil. Because if we don't, it's a sure path to absolute destruction. Our way of life will completely be over. This is God and Country. Again, please, please, please share our podcast. Subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified when they come out, because again, YouTube is not giving us any impressions on any of these videos. And as you can see from this video, we give a lot of really, really good information, stuff you're not going to see anyplace else. We're part of that conservative movement, so we need your help. Listen to the full podcast, listen to 20, 30 minutes here and there on a daily basis. Get through our videos so that YouTube can see our support, and then please share it with your friends, your families. Get us out there. Watch the upcoming episodes that we have. We have, like I said, rescheduled Border Patrol for the week after Thanksgiving. ICE has been rescheduled, so we do have those coming up. We will have great guests coming in, like Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee coming in, young Republicans coming in this week, and even more. So support our channel. We appreciate you listening to us, and we'll catch you on the next video.